Hi, my name is Gertrude Van Horn. I'm the CIO at NCH Corporation, and it is my pleasure to serve on the advisory board of DFW ATW. I am your moderator for a fireside chat with two of my distinguished colleagues, Ellen Barker, CIO of Texas Instruments, and Neelu Sethi, CIO of Ready Ice, who will share with us their stories about this unprecedented time in the CIO journey, navigating disruption, transformation, and a pandemic. So Ellen, let me start with you. Please tell us about you and TI. What's the status of your company? Are you working from home now? And how has your daily routine changed?
So hello, everybody, and it's my honor and privilege to be here with you all for this session. It's so exciting to be able to share the stage with both Trudy and Neelu. And I'm Senior Vice President of Texas Instruments, where we design, sell, and manufacture semiconductors. I've been at the company for 36 years, and in the past 6 years, I've been the CIO for the company. And I've led a great team of IT professionals, and so it's been really my pleasure. I just announced actually very recently that I will begin my retirement journey. So I'm transitioning out of TI and will be having a great retirement, but I won't do that until February. So for now, I am still here and spending a lot of time with my successor, which is great. From a standpoint of what has happened to TI over the last several months during the pandemic, and what does our work look like? We have had essential workers in our factories around the world. We have 20 factories around the world, and we have had people working around the world in these factories to continue to produce semiconductors. Semiconductors are very important in our current life. As you can imagine, we couldn't have a meeting like this without all the technology that we needed to, and TI powers that. Most of the people in the North Texas area that aren't working specifically in the factories are still working from home. Our teams in China, because the pandemic hit earlier, they're already back in the office. So it really varies country by country on what's happening, but primarily we're still significantly working from home, and I can tell you that that's true for the IT team at TI. As far as how my routine has changed, it's probably the same as you all. We've had to learn how to be more disciplined about having a routine versus just rolling out of bed straight to our computers and finding ourselves there until 8 p.m. and barely moving. So I think for me, it's learning to be disciplined about how to work every day, how to separate some of work and life. And that's what I've learned over the last 6 months about working remotely. So thank you, Trudy.
Thanks so much, Ellen. And Neelu, for you, Neelu, I know it's been quite different. So tell us for you, how are things for you and for Ready Ice? How is your journey been? What is new in your routine and what's happening at Ready Ice? Are you working remotely?
Well, first of all, Trudy, such a pleasure to be here with you and Ellen. I mean, I learned so much from both of you, and I have been for past several years, and along with, I have had a privilege to be part of DFW ATW. So just wonderful journey, and how things have changed has just been incredible. So I am currently working as a Senior Vice President and CIO at Ready Ice, as the name suggests. We are the #1 packaged ice manufacturer and distributor in the nation. And as name comes up, right, we are the food business. We are the consumer product goods, which means we are the essential part of the economy. And as a result, world has shifted upside down, right? American Airlines stopped flying, and Southwest Airlines stopped flying, and the big events like the NBA and the NFLs stopped. And you can imagine what happened to our community, what happened to our world at Ready Ice as well. On the contrary to what Ellen shared, we have been going to work for last straight 4 months. We never stopped. May the 1st is when our Texas governor announced that he is opening Texas back on, and May the 3rd is when we started back in 100% capacity. And interestingly, between Memorial Day and Labor Day, this is our peak time. So as temperatures start to soar up, it becomes critical for us to make sure that we are going round the clock and manufacturing ice and getting ice out to our consumers. And that's exactly what we did. How things have changed, I think we are all adjusting to the new norm. COVID norm or new normal has just been interesting from the fact that, yes, I do start my day at 4 in the morning, roll off my bed and laptop goes on. And before I leave home, my planning for everything I need in terms of the gloves and the mask and the hand sanitizer and whatnot goes on with me. My car is all equipped with all this stuff. I go to work and I spend significant amount of time cleaning down and wiping down everything right before I start my day. So imagine the days that, how things have changed. It was challenging early on. Putting on mask for straight 8 hours and talking and working and trying to take a sip of water during that time is challenging, right?
Wow.
Jobs are all about talking and all about, building those relationships. So I would say it's been an interesting journey for sure. But everything that we have done is all about keeping people in the center of the nucleus, right? And coming home, my rigor starts. I leave work, wipe down everything again. I come home, leave my shoes and my laptop bag and everything in the garage, and the next wipe down starts. And then I hose myself down, literally, change down everything, make sure I'm not carrying any infection. The fear of bringing something back home while I'm exposed to so many people in the building, you can imagine as a mom, as a wife, those are definitely something that keeps me up. But just make sure that for last 4 months I've not had any complacent component kicked in. So it's been a new norm, a new journey for sure.
Wow, that's very significant. So different than a lot of us have been through since you're working back in the office. Thanks for sharing that. So Ellen, back to you. We've heard so many people have had amazing changes in the innovation or new products or new ways that their companies have done something. Did the pandemic bring about any great achievements in TI? Did you discover anything or discover new ways to do anything?
Well, I think we're all learning and adapting and growing as we go through this. I think for us, we've been just continuing on our current strategies as a company to make us stronger. We want to be a very strong semiconductor company and be able to provide our components to people around the world. Because we think it's important to make electronics affordable, and we do that through making semiconductors. So we've been just focusing on that execution and ensuring that we don't lose sight of long-term in the midst of some of the short-term challenges. Of course, there's been lots of different innovation going on from a standpoint of how do you work effectively from home. And so we've seen our engineers around the world be really resilient. We've seen them bring home their workbench and to figure out how to order the components so that they can have rich conversations with customers. We've been virtually selling for a number of years on TI.com. So we have been continuing to make sure our website is able to scale and be credible and have information for our customers that are out there searching. But we also, one of the things that we are really proud of is that we were able to bring 700 interns into a virtual environment over the summer, and to be able to honor our commitments to 700 interns around the world, to provide them computers, to get those computers back, to have them present to us, and to act as if for 8 weeks has been just a real challenge, but just a real pleasure. And so we are continuing to do what we do as a company, and we're excited about that.
That's fantastic. I hadn't heard about the interns. That's amazing. Thank you. So Neelu, how about at Ready Ice?
So Trudy, from the innovation perspective, our world shifted as consumer habits started shifting, right? As I touched upon, airline industry completely had shut down. All the big events ended up shutting down. All of a sudden people were busy hoarding, so to speak, the groceries and whatnot, and that turned out to be a blessing in disguise. So as people were holding the meats and the food product and whatnot, they needed ice. And our retailers were, the demand that was coming that way was off the chart. So as a result, it was very clear that we needed to shift our strategy and become more agile towards supply chain. That really became number one focus for us. We started going further and farther away from day to day, but really bringing agility through IoTs or whatnot, and started deploying sensors. And then how do we really become nimble? So that's one part that happened. The second part happened was, yes, consumers' habits shifted. As a result, e-grocery became a new norm. Grandma is placing orders now, sitting with a very comfort with their comfort, and without those earlier challenges. And as a result, we needed to figure out how do we make sure we are part of that grocery basket that comes out of Walmart.com or Kroger.com. So we started accelerating on that component. So that became a key part of our innovation. And finally, even though we came back full time in 100% capacity starting May, it was important that we prepare ourselves from the back office jobs. And we started accelerating on the RPA and started deploying bots and figuring out that how do we automate something which is repetitive, can be handled by the bot, and leverage the workforce to do more value add activities and start shifting them. So it's a journey, right? A lot of work to do, but interesting that how pandemic changed the views, changed the thinking, and what things started accelerating for us.
Neelu, how about corporate culture and communication and morale? What changed at Ready Ice that helped or bolstered all of those aspects of corporate culture?
Trudy, it's interesting. I have seen interesting shifts. So when we received a message that May the 3rd, we are all joining, and by the way, we all ramped up within 3 days. On May 3rd, senior executives came in. May 4th, director levels and above came in, and May 5th, everyone was in. In 3 days, 100% capacity across 140 locations, right? When that message came, the fear was at the highest, utmost concern. Everyone had a fear. Everyone was like questioning and thinking and really saying, is this the right thing to do, right? Is that right? But it's been interesting. Our leadership has literally led it from the front. So proud of everything my CEO and the entire executive leadership team has done. They led it from the front to eradicate fear and to bring in all the facts, to be so transparent, to be very specific, sharing exactly what is being done within the organization to keep everyone safe, sharing why we were coming back, why it was important, how we needed to stand hand in hand with our drivers who were delivering ice on a daily basis 24/7, how we needed to provide a support to 140 locations across the nation, right? So all the transparency, courageous leadership that came in started turning that fear earlier on that was there among people into the morale of, we are grateful. We are grateful that we have leadership that cares. We are grateful that we're not dealing with the furloughs and the walk-offs, right? We are grateful that people care for each other. We actually created a hashtag campaign for our field force, which was just brought the entire organization together, unbelievably together. So seeing all of this, I think the morale is actually all-time high. We are doing very well. You must have heard me say this, 4th of July is actually considered Christmas for Ready Ice, right? When the temperature is 3 degrees and it stays up, and between Memorial Day and Labor Day, this is our holiday season. This is when we sell the most, right? And having the dedication from the entire organization was the key. And that's exactly what our leadership enabled. And morale is all-time high. We have actually kicked rears in this season in spite of the challenges we had. So it's just absolutely proud. Very proud of my team, proud of our entire organization.
That's a fantastic story. Ellen, how about Texas Instruments? How did corporate culture get impacted? How about communication and morale? What programs or changes did TI put in place?
Well, I would say very similar to what Neelu talked about. I think the most important word that I'll grab from her is transparency. I think that's what people want. They want to know what's on our minds. What are we thinking? It's very different because we are not back in the office yet. So there's a bit of fear on when we say, let's go back into the office. What does that mean? What does that timing look like? And so we are trying to be as transparent as possible, not just about when we go back in, but transparent about what the company strategies are, what our ambitions are, what are the expectations. So I've seen more frequent communications from leaders at all levels. I myself am more frequently communicating, but we are just being very transparent and telling people as much as we can tell them as what we know. We know that their health and safety is our first and foremost importance. We do have people back in the office. But for the most part, a lot of us aren't. But people are concerned about when is that going to happen? If I have children at home, how quickly am I going to have to go back? What is that going to mean for me? So we've also told them we are going to let them decide. Once we say we're going back in, if you choose that it's not a great time for you, whether it's a homeschooling situation or an e-learning situation, or you yourself are immune compromised, or you're living with family members that are, you get to actually talk to your supervisor about it. What I've noticed in this time, people get to know each other more, even though we think we don't see each other because we're not physically in the office together. We are learning about people's environment, where they're working from, how many kids they have, what about their dogs. We know how many times they're ordering online because the doorbell rings and the UPS or FedEx or USPS or the Ready Ice people are there delivering. So I think that's changed and people are learning about that. So they're able to have those transparent conversations with one another about to help erode this fear that Neelu discussed. But the big thing from a morale standpoint that we've had to be careful of is burnout. People are working really hard, really long hours. They want to execute. They are feeling grateful, but they're also feeling fearful of what if the company doesn't do well? Are we going to be furloughed? So I think we're past that piece of it, and now we're into how do I balance a little bit better, and so we can avoid any kind of burnout that people are having with having to work and juggle multiple things at home.
What are some of your personal tactics for staying in touch with your remote staff? How do you do it to make sure that they know you're out there and you care?
Well, it's the good news at TI, we're not a video culture, so that helps me because I think it's exhausting. So if you're on Zoom video conference all day or WebEx or Microsoft Teams or whatever your platform of choice is, and it's video, that is exhausting. And so I encourage you just to reach out and call people up and talk to them. I encourage you, for me, I use some of my one-on-one times for walks. I said, hey, we're going to both get out and walk. So you're going to hear wind, I'm going to hear wind, but let's do this so that we can really do that. I think the couple of words that I think of is about me personally. I have tried to be more mindful in this time period, mindful during meetings, because we can get really distracted. Especially if we're not on video and we're only on audio, we can get stuck in our email or doing something else. But to practice mindfulness so that we can really engage, that's helped me. I think I've actually started to listen more because I can go around the horn. Instead of talking about my agenda first, I ask my team, tell me, each one of you, we're going to go in this order. And so I think that's helped a little bit, helped me to listen better than I think I had been doing in the past when I would walk into a meeting. So those are some of my strategies, really just picking up the phone, checking on people, creating some space before meeting and after meeting. How's everybody doing? Or how are you? So that it doesn't feel like they've got meetings after meetings after meeting and no opportunity to have any kind of personal communication or things that you would run into people in the hallway that you don't have now. It's really, I think the hardest thing is to create that hallway conversation that we so really enjoyed. And so how do you kind of create that virtually is what I'm working on.
Ellen, for so many people, they had a lot of difficulty in the very beginning. There were so many technology challenges of getting the remote workforce up and running and changes to people's schedule and understanding what people needed. And then the work seemed to never stop. People were up at all hours. So when you look back on that time, what do you consider to be your personal greatest achievement in getting through all of that?
Well, I think, first of all, I am so personally proud of my team. They're the ones that did all the heavy lifting. I just helped guide and direct. And to understand that and to help knock down barriers for them, you know, we were actually very fortunate about being able to work from home. Some of us work at night or on the weekends or maybe even have flex schedules. So we are a somewhat remote work, not 100%. But also, we were impacted by the Dallas tornadoes earlier in October, and our headquarters was shut down for a couple of weeks. People couldn't go into the office, so we learned a lot then. And then we also learned a lot from our China colleagues as they couldn't work when the pandemic hit there earlier. And at that point in time, we started buying switches and more VPN capacity and getting laptops shored up, all of that in advance. We started doing that in December and January and February in preparation that, oh, this may come here. So I think I'm very personally proud of my team for looking ahead and not saying this could never happen to us and learning from what we learned in the tornado to help us to really help people work remotely. We had tons of challenges, but we've moved from quickly stabilizing the environment to optimizing the environment. And so that's kind of where we are. I'm also considered the WebEx czar or WebEx terminator or whatever you want to call it, but I will call people out about how their audio sounds horrible or that they're reverberating or that they need better headphones or go on mute. And so I've learned to tell people that are hosting meetings, feel free to mute. You've got a lot of power when you can mute people. And so I've enjoyed that. But it's been interesting for me, even from a technology adoption, to see how quickly people can adapt.
Thank you for that. How about you, Neelu? I'm going to get it from the technology czar here. Neelu, how about you? What is your greatest achievement during this time?
Yes, very similar to what Ellen touched upon, right? Heavy lifting is done by team, right? We help direct, and really we become the chief roadblock removers. That's who we are. But team is the one who really push the mountains forward, right? That's what happens. So I feel truly has become a glue for the organization. I am absolutely so proud of them. They actually led by demonstrating how to use Microsoft Teams, how to really do the whiteboarding. Every call that was set up, they actually led from the front. There were so many calls that were made by my business teams directly to my individual team members versus calling the help desk. Of course, help desk is there, but the individuals, whether my functional techs, my architects, no matter who they are, they truly have become a glue in this process for my organization, which I'm so proud of. The second thing I'm so proud of is that they are able to finish each other's sentences. They know each other's pets, as Ellen was talking about their kids, what's happening. And my team within Ready Eyes is the most diverse team, whether it's a different genders, different age, different ethnicity. And on top of it, we all faced a hashtag Black Lives Matter, right? And I do have the most diverse team, and how my team actually supported each other has just been incredible. So we know, we did several sessions, which like everyone else, right? But we actually designed some of the sessions where we said, we will not talk work. And that was incredible. That brought us closer to each other. And when we went back on May the 4th, Since then, we have kept up with all of those sessions. So, we are still doing virtual celebrations. Yes, now virtual celebrations, where I do bring packaged foods or whatnot, but I feel that, at the end of the day, bringing the team together, lifting them up to the next level, making them feel that they are making a difference, and let them, really hear directly from the business, truly has evolved my team to the next level. And there could not be any better achievement than this, quite frankly.
So it sounds like Ellen had an opportunity to, through the tornado, to do some prep work unexpectedly. So if you had a chance to go back, is there one thing that you would have done better to prepare, or in hindsight, is there something that you wish you had accomplished earlier that would have put you in a better place to handle the pandemic?
So one of the things that really crossed my mind, Trudy, is we work non-stop between Labor Day and Memorial Day as we get ready for Memorial Day. Wish if I had any idea, anyone had any idea, right, I would have asked my team to take a break during the time so that they had ammunition to continue, right? The burnout is real and was real. So they kept on going, my team kept on going, and so is the rest of the Ready Eyes, right? We kept on going from last year's Labor Day, getting ready for Memorial Day, and when March happened, we were already getting to the point we were tired and going round the clock 70 hours a week. And then March happened, and we all know that how everyone went on from, instead of 70 hours a week, the more mileage started coming in. And then, we went back to work, and as I shared my example, all of the work that happens, plus taking care of, our kids, worrying about their school and back to school, and what's happening with our parents, and what's happening with our Ready Eyes family, what's happening with our internal family, right? All of these circles and the juggling that goes on, the amount of stress, that has been real. So if there's one thing I could do different, would have been let people go on for better vacation, more vacations, and get ready for this, and just missed out on that opportunity.
How about you, Ellen? What would you have done if you could have gone back to better prepare?
Well, I'll say this. I always live with no regrets. So that's part of what I do, and try to learn from our current situation and not repeat mistakes. So I haven't looked back on anything but one thing that I wish I would have done. I wish I would have cleaned out my office, because now that I've chosen to retire, which, by the way, I knew I was going to do that earlier in the year before we went remote, I wish I would have cleaned out my office at that time, because now it's looming there, and I've got to eventually go in when nobody is there and start to, pack up some things. So that's what my only regret is. And so, but I couldn't do it, of course, before the pandemic. And so now I just, we in IT, and we're primarily in our Richardson factory. And so there is a factory working and sharing our floors with blue and red teams and things like that. So we are very mindful about not going in the factory. So I can't just go in to clean out my office. And so I will do that appropriately when I can.
So any predictions about the future of work after all that we've been through, Ellen?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we'll be forever changed. And I think we all know that we can work effectively remotely. And we learned that through this. And so I think that will impact us. I think when I look at events like this, or travel to conferences, even business travel, I think that will be forever changed as well, or for a period of time over the next 2 to 3 years, because we've learned we can connect like this. In fact, I think we've connected more. If I look around the screen, I see we're connected a lot more frequently than we were in the pre-pandemic environment. So I think that travel will change, conferences will change. Our ability to get a lot of work done has changed in this remote environment, and I think it will continue over time. But I know for us at TI, our culture is based on knowing one another and building those relationships, which means that we are hungry to get back to work to do that. So I would think if I was a college grad right now, straight out of college, I would be hungry to get into the office. As a 36-year professional, it's easier for me. So it's just recognizing that. But that's what I think from what we're changed from due to the pandemic.
How about you, Neelu? Any predictions from you on the future of work?
I think it's going to get easier in finding the workforce for sure. The challenges that we had from the physical limitation, from, hey, you're based in Dallas and you have to relocate to Chicago and then only you can work for a company based out of Chicago. Those limitations are going to be lifted. And I think that's getting flexed. We are seeing a lot of that, which in my mind, diversity and inclusion truly becomes real. And I think that's going to come to life. So I definitely am super excited hearing about that, thinking about that, watching some of the companies really opening up that component, and gives flexibility, right, for women, gives flexibility to mothers, gives flexibility to single moms, right? So there's so many components that will start to evolve with the future that I am just absolutely thrilled and can't wait.
So I'm going to close with your greatest piece of advice for our audience. It doesn't have to be pandemic related. Just wonderful to have you both here. So how about a great piece of advice for our audience?
So my advice would be that I think it's really important for you to always be a student of the company that you're working for. Continue to learn and grow and to be able to adapt and succeed in an ever-changing world. So continue to do that where you are.
That's fantastic.
That's
Neelu,
awesome.
how about you?
Well, mine would be, when you get a chance to hug someone, hug them tight. Because you don't know when is the next time you will get to hug them again. Count your blessings for sure. The things we take for granted, simple things we take for granted, and we're not able to do those, right? So, how badly I want to hug my parents at the moment and not able to do that. So those are just simple pieces of advice that comes from my heart.
Thank you both. It is fantastic to spend time with you. I agree that I feel like we spend more time together on video calls than we spent together when we had to drive to get together. It's wonderful to be with you both. Thank you for your advice and your wisdom and your stories and your smiles. Thank you for the advice and sharing all that you always share to this group. Thank you for supporting ATW. I'm going to stop now and we're going to take some questions from the audience. I'm sure they've got some great questions for both of you. So let's look at the questions now. Thank you.